Oh.
It's not even on your network. That's just a lifetime of disappointment. We're still never going to be over the fact that Fox canceled Firefly.
Well, they've canceled Dollhouse, too, and that was another one of
That
Joss
was a
Whedon's.
good
You know,
one.
I never watched it. I never got around to watching Dollhouse, but there's another Joss Whedon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And
He was high after Buffy and Angel, and it's like, we'll bring him over to Fox. We'll make him a couple of shows. He can do a couple of shows over here and then cancel both of them.
Well, it seems that the longevity, I guess, of the passion for Firefly, that's accumulated a cult following that Dollhouse hasn't.
I think I would even say that the Firefly fandom is even more diehard than even Star Trek.
No.
Well, I'd have to. I mean, Star Trek has longevity in terms of it's been around for 50 years, but think about it. Star Trek, it had 2 seasons of the original series was canceled. Let me get to that. It had 2 seasons of it was canceled, and then the fans came out of the woodwork and pushed for the 3rd. Am I right in that?
Yeah.
In how that worked?
Kind of.
Okay, and then it lived on in syndication, and over the years has developed this massive mythology crossing all of these shows, so it's brought in millions of viewers.
You wouldn't get conventions, well, at least media conventions, without Star Trek.
Right, which we've touched on in a previous podcast where I asked the question. I said, "Do comic book conventions become what they are today without Star Trek?"
Yeah.
And we're all in agreement that no, it wouldn't have had the firepower without that.
Perhaps it would be better to say that the fans of Firefly are more loyal per se than.
Well, I wouldn't go that far because there are some diehard Star Trek fans. There's diehard Doctor Who fans, diehard Star Wars fans. But I'm wondering, if Star Trek had only served
Deadpool fans.
There you go.
I think my point was there's so many great shows that have been canceled.
Yeah.
There's the whole brilliant but canceled thing.
Mm-hmm.
What made this one special over, say, Dollhouse or any of the other ones that are out there?
I would say it has to be the people.
Yeah, I'm
It's
just
the
thinking
cast.
the
It's the
cast,
cast.
the dynamics with the cast, with Sean and Jewel State going on and doing an episode, I think, of Warehouse 13.
Yep.
Stargate, she was a doctor on Stargate Atlantis.
Yep.
Yes.
She did take over for that.
And with Nathan moving over to Castle for a while, Adam Baldwin showed up on several episodes of that, and you could just see just how they just get back into their own characters and chemistry and things like that.
Don't Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk have a show called
Con
Con
Man.
Con
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a huge chemistry between all those characters that I think.
And that's a tribute to Joss Whedon as well because he brought these people together. He picked them.
They were in Buffy, too.
A lot of them were in Buffy. Not everybody, but a lot of them were in Buffy. But I also think the way he structured the production of Firefly had a lot to do with it. The Firefly itself was across 2 sets.
Yes.
Or were they on the same soundstage? So they were kind of connected.
So.
But you had a continuity in the structure of the set itself. And sure, that made it easy to film, get the 2 units working. But there were plenty of stories of how the cast, when they were done with a scene, they would gather in the Firefly common room, and they would spend time together because the set just made it easy for them to do that. So there's plenty of stories of how they would be between takes, between scenes, and they'd all be sitting around the dinner table, relaxing and chatting and chewing the fat and whatnot. And that I think added to the chemistry that these people already had working together. They enjoyed working together, but now they're spending this extra time together that a lot of casts probably did not actually have that liberty. So that might have had a lot to do with it, I think, but. What makes the fans so diehard? I think it's the cast, it's the actors, the people behind it, and how they brought those personalities to life.
The guest actors that come in and only are on a couple episodes and things.
Jubal Early was one of my favorite characters.
Was that Mark Shepard's character?
No, that's Badger.
Okay.
But Jubal Early was in one episode. He was the bounty hunter looking for River.
Yes.
And,
I saw that.
And the waxing philosophical as he's going through and trying to capture River. Is that right to you? Does that seem right to you? And the way he was always just protesting, and I just thought it was a funny character.
So yeah, they've had great actors come in on the different episodes that were.
But it was on Fox, and it was like.
Wasn't it on like the Friday night time slot?
It was
like
it was
8 o'clock.
Slot.
Yeah, it was a terrible time slot.
I think nowadays more people have seen the DVDs and say Netflix or streaming services than ever
watched
saw
it originally.
Yeah. Maybe didn't even know it existed.
If it was on Sci-Fi Channel, it would still survive. Yes?
Do you guys think
Oh, yeah.
that if Netflix, Amazon Prime had been around when Firefly was on and got canceled, that one of them may have picked it up and it would have lived on for a few more seasons.
I
That's
think
possible.
so, because, I mean,
Yeah.
there was enough of an audience for them to make Serenity, the movie. I mean, they had what canceled TV show has a movie in the theaters after it's canceled? To
Battlestar Galactica.
tie up a loose end.
Really?
Galactica had a movie before it.
Oh, was it before?
TV series.
Not the reboot, the original from the 70s.
It was a movie.
Oh, it was before it was on TV?
Yes.
Just like
did
Buck
not. I thought it
Rogers
was
in the
one-
25th century.
Okay.
Aaron Gray.
Yeah.
Hello. Anyway,
I mean,
I lost my own thoughts there for a moment.
The thing that I'm brought to mind is, does anyone remember the show Terra Nova?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
canceled, and Netflix was looking into picking it up,
Yes,
but
they
they
were.
never did.
It costs a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing. It cost a lot of money and never garnered enough fan following because it was just. It had a bad story.
Eh.
You know, the story wasn't.
It was a
really
decent
there.
premise, but I think a bad delivery.
Yes.
And I think it's a lot of TV shows out there are decent premises, but just
They didn't have the writing.
yeah,
Right.
like Lost, got lost, in my opinion.
And
A
what
lot of people said that.
what struggled with Lost is they said that there would be a new episode this upcoming week and blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden they would rerun something because
Yeah, but when
the
when Lost
World
was,
Series was playing or
Yeah.
something else was going on, and I think that they lost a lot of followers that way because
To take it off of nerd TV shows, same thing happened with Moonlighting, if you remember.
Yes.
they
Bruce
got married
Willis.
in
Yeah.
Moonlighting.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was
killed
a
it.
shark jump right there.
But, I mean, there were so many production problems. Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd didn't get along.
No.
The episodes took too long to film, and it sort of got lost, and the third season's terrible.
All right, so to bring it back to Firefly, here's a question: since we're all disappointed, loyal fans, and there are certain things
Except
we
for
would
one.
have loved. Well, you're going to
And
be.
two.
Becca,
Wait,
I'm sorry to tell you
Deanna.
this right now, but you're going to become a disappointed fan.
I'm okay with that.
That's okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the horn and I'm going to bring it to Billy first, and then we'll go to the girls on the phone. Here's a question that I'm going to ask to my esteemed panel here today. What are some of the situations that kind of always got hinted at, but you never got to see? What if we could have a season 2, season 3 of Firefly? What are some of the things that you would like to have them do?
The relationship between Mel and Inara.
Okay.
stop taking my answer.
Okay, book.
Between the
Poor
relationship
Billy.
between Mel and Brooke. Book.
Are we going back to Slash again? Is that what's happening?
Another very special episode.
Another very special episode of Blossom.
No, but yeah,
The relationship between Mel and Inara?
That just you could see the chemistry building and building and building, and then nothing.
D?
I think along those same lines. I think with book, even though it did come out in a book in 2010, I think to see it play out on TV
Okay.
would have been interesting because you have a book, but on TV you can say, well, maybe if this isn't what it's meant to be. It could be this. You can infer things from different perspectives from different people instead of having a book tell you this is the way it is.
Okay. Sybil, how about you, hon?
Well, the relationship with Kylie and Simon, for one, because
That's the other one.
he wanted to make sure he protected River, and once he could see that she could protect herself, he was able to finally release and
Yeah.
be with Kylie, and just honestly, River coming into her own and her powers and bringing back her own sanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She towards the end of the movie when she suddenly just becomes this very calm, very gentle little thing, but then
Lethal.
Then lethal.
Yeah.
At the
Total
drop of a
badass.
hat. Yeah.
That's
Tony,
like the
go
character
ahead.
that we hadn't touched on is River.
Oh, I'm going there.
Oh, okay.
I'm heading there in that direction. Now, Tanya, you've had your idea stolen a couple of times, but do you have something that you'd like to see have them do?
Come back to me.
Okay.
I have to think.
I can do that. How about you, Tony?
I mean, I think it's all been put on. A lot of what I was thinking was put on the table. Definitely Book. I wanted to know why he was so awesome. another thing too is I know they touched on this on a couple episodes, but the whole relationship between like the Alliance and the independent systems.
Cool.
I would have liked to see a little bit more of that. Although they did talk about it in the series.
Now, for me, and then I'll head over here to Wayne, but for me, there was this one exchange between Mal and Jane when early on, when Jane said, basically, I didn't betray you because the money wasn't good enough. And Mal looks at Jane and goes, well, what if the money was? Or what if it ever is? And Jane looks back and goes, well, that's going to be an interesting day. For me, I wanted to see that moment. Because you know that Jane's possible. Jane will turn on you. Because for him, it's all practicality. Take care of yourself, get paid. All right?
How can he make a profit?
How can he make a profit off
Evan.
of it? And you're going to have to meet Evan one of these days, Wayne. You'll understand. But we love our friend, by the way.
We do. We really do
But
love
we
him.
pick on him incessantly. But for me, to see that dynamic between Mal and Jane will serve Mal because he understands that Mal has a certain advantage. But one of these days, the playing field is going to be opened up. And I wanted to see that interaction between what would happen when these... Basically, for me, it just set it up as, here's the Clash of the Titans, Mal and Jane.
Well, remember when there was an episode where it's like, well, you want to be captain? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't.
Well, I think they kind of played that out a little bit on a couple of those Castle episodes because Castle being the writer and Jane
being... He was like a detective.
He was a police...
undercover DEA agent or something
narcotics, narcotics unit, and he puts Nathan Fillion through the ringer. Like he comes out and he's like, I want to say beat up and things like that, and like.
Well, there's also an episode of Firefly where Jane pulls something and Mal has to address it. All right, I don't want to give it out because I have some people in the room who are still getting. They're still new to this.
But yeah, they definitely play it out on Castle.
So I mean, you see that there's a back and forth, but for me, that was always the thing that kind of caught my attention the most.
Yeah,
Wayne, how
well,
about?
I was saying it was the Mal and Jane thing. I want to see more of that happen. I want to see how he got to work for him in the first place. He just. I need a job, and you're going to give me a job.
That's actually touched on in one of the early episodes. Yeah, where basically Jane is on a group of mercenaries, and I think they captured Mal and Zoe.
They captured Mal and Zoe, and Jane was the muscle. And they're like, "Well, how much are you getting of the cut?" And he goes, 7%. They're like, "That sounds kind of low. We could give you more."
They talked Jane into turning on them. Yeah, I thought that was funny as hell.
But I want to see more of that.
You see more of that. Yeah. I'm with that. That's good.
Got a question for you.
Go ahead, Billy.
One perfect season or the perfect season followed by some mediocrity?
I'd go for one full perfect season. If I can have that full experience from beginning to end and allow Joss Whedon to tell the story that he wanted to tell from start to finish.
Basically what I'm asking, is this good enough? Or if they went for a second season and there are some good episodes and some not, it kind of lost its way.
I see where you're going with that. I would want the one perfect season.
But he couldn't tell his whole.
You don't think he could tell the story in one season?
In one season, no, not 13 episode season.
No,
definitely.
Maybe a 26.
He'd have, if he knows from the beginning, he has 26, and probably so. Like the Prisoner. If you know you only have 18 episodes, then you can do a beginning, middle, and end. If you don't know that, you then wind up having to come up with something real quick.
Well, there's a theory that one of the reasons why Firefly has such a huge following is because it was that one amazing season, and it didn't go on to the second where it wasn't as good, and the third they kind of brought it back. That's why a lot of people think that's why Firefly has such a cult following, is because it just was that great of a season that they weren't allowed to get bad and weren't allowed to lose any of the following.
So if I'm kind of reading you correctly, Billy, at this point, if Fox had not intervened and the episodes were shown in the right order and a full season was produced,
the season as we know it was produced, but then followed up by a second season that was just as good, but it had some rough patches to it, and then season 3, well, maybe they're running out of ideas, that kind of a thing. So, basically what happens to a lot of TV shows.
Right. So would I trade what we have now to have more?
Yes.
Oof.
No, all of a sudden you got Spock's brain.
Oh, God. Yeah. I see where you're going with that question.
Omega Glory.
I don't know if we'd want to try to do that.
Well,
No,
I think.
Do you want more, or are you happy